On June 10th, Canada added silicon metal to its critical minerals list. And before we even talk about what that means for silicon, here's what you need to know big picture why this is so important. The Canadian Minister of Natural Resources recently said critical minerals are the building blocks for the green and digital economy. There's no energy transition without critical minerals, no batteries, no electric cars, no wind turbines, and no solar panels. All right, so that's big picture. This latest update to the list highlights the growing importance of silicon metal, specifically silicon, in modern technologies. So the move will offer greater certainty for Canadian mining and manufacturing businesses while further building out the nation's capacity to meet the growing global demand for silicon. HPQ is developing, with the support of two world-class technology partners, new and proven green processes that are crucial to making critical minerals such as silicon that are needed if we're going to try and get this net zero emissions economy. Here to talk about that is Bernard. Welcome back, my friend.
Thank you, George. Thank you. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, you're welcome. You're welcome. Hey, by the way, we should be talking today because I'm mourning Greece not being in the Euro. They should have been playing a couple of hours ago. And they lost on penalty shots in the qualifier, and this is a sad day for me. But again, you encroach on my private days when I should be with my family on this Euro soccer.
That one you can't blame me. I didn't pay them that much to lose on the last one.
That's true. I'll send you reminders from now on in my calendar when I have blocked off dates. So
yeah, but you couldn't have blocked out that one.
Quote from you. Yes. This validates our strategic vision of developing the pure VAP, which is something we haven't talked about in a while. I'm sure the shareholders love it. That's why I'm going with this first. Developing the pure VAC QRR technology, a new proprietary process to produce in one step a zero carbon footprint, high purity silicon metal material. So how important is this June 10th announcement from the Canadian government to what you're trying to do with the pure VAP?
It's massive. In a certain way, we were always blocked when we went to go see the government about developing this is because we didn't fit anywhere. First of all, there's only one silicon metal manufacturer in Canada.
Wow.
Canada uses it, the material, but it's not really an indigenous product that we're doing. Although we have the quartz, we have the carbon, we have everything to do. We have the electricity. But it was never, how can I say this? It was very difficult to get the attention, okay, because it didn't fit on the box. Often it's how you fit within the box the government has decided where the money comes in. Now, in the US, we fit in, and now there's a lot of opportunities. In Europe, we fit in and everything else. More annoying, we didn't fit in here. It's like Quebec, out of their logic, went for the natural resource side, and they basically put silica, high purity silica, in their critical mineral list. So if you wanted to go and apply for financing for silicone-based SiOx battery material, you didn't fit in that category. Although, high purity silica, it's really the silicone that's the material. So that sort of resolves one of those situations. It's going to, multiple doors. And it arrives at the perfect timing for us because, HPQ has been mostly focused on the FSR, fumed silica reactor, which is advancing great, which is really, there's great things in the pipeline. Probably wearing an even wilder shirt then, but great things in the pipeline. And I always wanted to bring back the QRR and have an opportunity presented. For the last few months, we've been in discussion with different group, and we finally came up with a concept where we can do win-win-win with the QRR technology, where we can get multiple reaction. I've said it at multiple times. We were going to develop the QRR once our battery side became big enough to generate demand for that material. Okay, that we said many times. Well, now that we've probably figured a way to use some of the unique characteristic of the QRR, okay, to generate at least two revenue streams from the same process, right? So we're going to be using carbon carbon once, okay, but we'll get 2 revenue stream for that.
And explain to everyone 1 and 2 quickly, just to
Yeah.
catch some people up, especially the new people.
Well, to convert high purity silica, okay, into high purity silicon, okay, you go through what's called a carbothermic process, where in traditional process you need 6 tons of raw material to make 1 ton of silicon metal. In our case, we need, because we have an enclosed reactor, a more efficient process, we need 4.5 tons of raw material to make 1 ton of silicon. Okay. The second thing is we have, and it's written in the press release, we have an enclosed reactor. But having an enclosed reactor, there is no oxidation of the carbon generated, so it stays in a carbon gas. Okay. Now, I know carbon gas as itself is a very toxic material, which makes the handling of it very difficult. But we know how to handle this thing. And the beauty of it is there is a technology that exists. It's not a new technology where you combine that carbon, okay, with hydrogen, all right, and you suddenly create an alternative synthetic fuel that can be used for aviation and all other issues. Now, we're thinking of how we've been thinking, outside of the box, which is what we always do at HPQ, is how we can use that more creatively, how we can use the fact that our system is smaller, scalable, how we can use the fact that we generate carbon. And we're now starting to see in economics where we can get 2 revenue stream for making the battery grade material feedstock required for us to make the SiOX. So with silicon now being in the critical list, all right, all those concepts to move it forward. And the beauty of it, of HPQ, is that it's not a PowerPoint type of concept idea, okay? The technology to convert carbon to synthetic fuel exists. It's been used since, at least 80 to 100 years. It's actually used commercially in different areas. But what they do there is they literally burn carbon to mix it with hydrogen to make the synthetic fuel. In our case, we would be using the carbon to make silicon metal, okay? And then we would have that waste byproduct to make so we have 2 great revenue streams. So I'm really happy that, the Canadian government finally woke up, to what we've been doing. But the timing is perfect for us to restart to mention that the QRR is really a unique technology that we'll be developing it. As I said many times, we are, as a non-revenue R&D company to work commercialization, we have to manage our projects. So we had decided to put a lot of emphasis on the fume silica reactor, some other emphasis on the silicone material for batteries, but now we can see the QRR can fit into it, and we can see doors opening up for significant subsidies for us to validate the commercial scalability of this. And the beauty of it is not going to be that long for us to do because we already got the QRR pilot plan. So it's just.
Yeah, you mentioned the press release. I'm going to read here. The QR's clear economic advantage over competing. Actually, sorry, made a mistake there. Further down, this designation will likely unlock federal and provincial funding opportunities to bolster domestic supply chain. So, do you think that this suddenly opens up doors significantly? Like adding it to the list, we already, a lot of us, a lot of investors, you, even the industry, knew what you're capable of with the QRR. Adding silicon now to the critical minerals list, does that just cut off supply from the likes of China and now start to drive demand towards companies like HPQ Silicon that can actually produce high purity silicon? Is that what it does to get you over the edge?
It's not going to happen instantaneously, but it now means that we are doing a material, okay, in a funny way. Okay, we've always checkmarked all the things that the government was looking, but we were not on the official list. And a lot of people have learned when you're dealing with governments, if you're not on the list, you're not on the list. So it's just the way it works. The other advantage is that we've really advanced and pushed this technology. We validated we can make silicon metal. We validated the technology work. But now we have something totally new. So it's very interesting because you keep asking me, is the phone ringing with regard to my battery results? Well, one of the things where the phone has been really ringing in a certain way in our discussion, and even from Chinese manufacturers, okay, it is the fact that we have a zero carbon silicon metal. Now, our issue has always been capex versus revenue stream. I had a lot of fudster making a lot of BS about, we should be generating revenues out of a 50-ton pilot plant. I don't think people have sat down and made the math. 50 tons multiplied by 6,000. It's not something to. It's not really something big. It's not really worth it. But now we can demonstrate that we can scale this up. We can bring it up. We can generate those issues. There's another concept that we're looking at. It's called green waste energy. All right, which is the concept is when you build a green grid. Okay, by default, it will generate too much energy at one point, because it generates the entire issue of alternative energy, or basically green energy, is that it generates energy when you don't need it. So at one point you have green waste energy. Now, one of the things a lot of people want to do with green waste energy, okay, is do hydrogen. Well, hydrogen, then you have a massive problem. How do you ship that hydrogen where you need them? Because often our technology is beautiful because we can make two things with the green waste energy. Okay, if we, because of our size and our scalability, if we pack ourselves up with batteries buffer, okay, we can generate the hydrogen on one side, make the silicon metal, at the same time make an alternative green fuel, and an alternative green fuel is much easier to transport. It's not a natural gas that requires pipeline. So there's now so many alternative where we could fit in with all this technology. That starts with the QRR. If we didn't have the QRR and its capability to basically do zero to carbon credit generating technologies, it's going to start to come into play.
So how does this change what's next for the QRR? Like, does this accelerate anything? Is there something you start doing differently as of, well, the announcement came out on June 10th, so it's a week ago. But do you start doing something differently right now and saying, okay, because this addition to the critical minerals list, we're going to start going down this path first? Because there are a lot of things, but you've already got fumed silica on your plate. You've already got the silicon anodes on your plate. So if you're going to start going down the QRR route, is there something specific that changes tomorrow, today?
What changes for me today is I can go back and talk about this great technology that we have. All right. I actually my day started at 7 this morning on a conference call with some people that are really excited about our ability to make green silicone, use green waste energy, and then convert that into silicone battery, silicone engineering, silicone battery materials, and putting into this. So it's going to be accelerated. It comes into play. It's really our ace card. Okay, that's always been there, but it's never been seen as that much important. Now it becomes really, really, really important in the situation, and the landscape is changing faster than I thought. You have even the U.S. Department of Energy willing to finance projects in Canada, but we have partnerships in the U.S. where we could work together to establish this. We have the LOI with Excelix. These are all things that come into it, which actually starts with our ability to make the silicon metal. So what I'm sort of saying is fume silica is great. It's going to be a massive success. It's on the right track for success. But our silicone for batteries, as I said, are going to be bigger market. We probably won't make the EBITDA margin that we're doing with fume silica, but we'll still make some pretty darn decent margins with all that process, especially if we had the secondary revenues from our carbon. So yes, this opens door, because I had some discussion with the Quebec government, and it's actually almost somewhat stalled with regard to the battery material because it wasn't yet part of it. I think everybody knew it was coming, but until it's out, it's not out. Sometimes it's like that with government. So then I can go back and re-talk to my contacts. We'll be able to fine-tune our business model, business approach, and our demands for subsidies and grant, and get the project moving. In addition to getting a lot of interest from private investors, because we do have something unique moving forward.
Silicon, by the way, remind everybody, even me, has silicon metal been added to the critical minerals list in the United States?
Yes, last year. That's why
Right.
I said as finally. Okay, because the reality is Canada, we're always late to the show. So Europe was first, Australia was second, US was third, Canada's fourth.
Devil's advocate. Devil's advocate.
Mm-hmm.
Given the fact that you're making inroads in Europe, significant inroads because of conversation
Mm-hmm.
we had in the past,
Mm-hmm.
significant inroads in the United States market.
Mm-hmm.
Does this really add up? And this devil's advocate, does this really add on a lot of potential in terms of more sales in Canada? Because right now there's only one manufacturer, so now you can be the clean green version. And yes, it does. Or is it more a case of it'll open up financing opportunities with the Canadian government, which will help you move along the process in order to be more successful in Europe and the United States?
The reality is that silicone materials for batteries is going to be in high demand and there's no capacity to produce it. Okay, there might be a producer of silicone metal, but there's not a producer, there's not too many people who have the capacity to convert that into engineered silicone materials that know the process, that have some patented ideas. So this differentiates us. But what it does, it opens up an envelope, a budget envelope. Okay. And sometimes if you don't have the right budget envelope, and that's something I've experienced once, even the government wants to help you, but the envelope isn't exactly designed for you. So it's like everybody scratch their head. How are we going to, how are we going to put something round in a square peg? Now it's not complicated. We're on the list. It opens up massive amount of funds. We do everything that the government's looking for. Fundamentally, we're talking about reducing significantly the carbon footprint of silicone metal manufacturing. I think people forget this. It's a material that everybody uses in their daily life, okay? And yet silicone metal, like when you take your telephone, okay, the chip at the bottom is made out of silicone material. It is the largest emitter of CO2 per tons of material produced. Okay, it's not the largest emitter in the world because it's only a 3 million market ton. But multiply 3 million ton by 5, you got 15 million tons of CO2 issued a year over year. Okay. With our technology, we could cut down to zero. Of course, that would assume us taking 100% of the market. But this is what we're talking about. So if, it's like you have two choices. You go the carbon tax route, and carbon tax route is great for us because we have an advantage, or you basically subsidize or help technology or give tax incentive to investors that invest in those situations. So it's a technology that works. We've demonstrated that we can make 3N Si, which is all what you need to be able to make the engineered silicone material for batteries.
Like for people keeping score at home, another Bernieism there. It's square peg in a round hole. I'm not going to
Okay.
try to attempt to say what you said, but it was funny. Keep them coming. Back on
Uh,
track. When I say the phone ringing, is the first phone ringing you making a call, or maybe you getting a call from or to the Quebec government, from or to the federal government to say, hey, we've got this. It's on the critical minerals list. We need your help, not just in funding, but what other ways can they support you? So are those the first discussions that you're having as a result of this?
Yeah, I was having those preliminary discussions before, but everybody was sort of scratching their head, as my Bernieism
Yeah.
said,
So what I'm saying is now is
eh,
everybody on the same
well,
page?
now,
Because
now,
before
now,
they didn't know where to fit you.
yeah, well, now it's going to require me to go and call and talk to people and rediscuss people I've already approached that I've slowed down a bit in the process, but there's so many people I'm talking to in different areas, and it only just takes one. Like in the fuel silica business, it only takes one.
So going back now, even to something we talked about a few minutes ago, there's one silicon producer in Canada.
Yep.
You say, and you've proven, by the way, HPQ's PureVap QRR represents a significant breakthrough in silicon production, unlike traditional methods, which require large-scale facilities,
Mhm.
multi-stage, energy-intensive, polluting processes. The PureVap small footprint, scalable, efficiently converts raw quartz into high purity silicon in a single step. What does that mean for that one producer right now? Does this mean that, you guys are ready to step in? How, I guess the
Okay,
thing
okay,
maybe people are thinking,
we're not ready to step in yet in the sense of becoming going head-to-head competition with them. Okay, that's not our business model. Our business model is to go after niche market that these guys cannot go after because it doesn't change their bottom line. Okay. When you have a multi-billion dollar a year business, and even if you can get 5,000 tons of that material at 3 times the price or 4 times or 5 times the price you sell your material, it won't change. It doesn't really move the needle on the EBITDA. Okay. It doesn't really move. But for a company like HPQ, it really does. And this is where the needle changes in the sense that, with our ability or our thinking to be able to use the carbon that comes out and find a way to generate revenue out of this, then the EBITDA completely changes. Either our green fuel energy will cost us zero to do, or near zero, okay, and our silicone will cost us X, or we'll split the cost over all those issues and just go get the sales. And remember, we're looking at how to vertically integrate, and this is something that becomes very important in the battery side because battery manufacturers prefer to have stable supplier of feedstock. So, it's for me, the reason why I sort of wanted really to publish this press release today was just to get people to remember HPQ is much more than just a fume silica. We have multiple projects that are moving forward, coming along. I'll be talking more about the hydrogen. Just a quick news flash to people I do read, okay? The reason why we gave up of the nano reactors is, I'll give a second, because what people don't realize is nano powders, okay, are highly explosive and dangerous material, flammable explosive material, okay? We're developing in the hydrogen field a solution that is basically safe to transport. Nanoparticles are not safe to transport.
so it wasn't a case of you couldn't do it. It's a case
Well,
of no matter what.
we couldn't do it when we were doing a nano reactor, but we ended up realizing that the nano material is also a very dangerous material. So right now in the battery space, okay, it's sort of like weird. There's this selenium gas that's used, another explosive material, or there's an attempt to use nanoparticle silicone, which is not really working because it's very difficult to do. But then if you have nanoparticles, you have a material that becomes very, very dangerous in to deal with. So, if we don't need to complicate our life, we won't.
It makes sense because you're not a one-trick pony, so you've got other things to rely on. So the Pure VAP has two opportunities. It allows you to vertically integrate for your own purposes and will allow you to also create product straight up for other buyers, correct?
Yeah.
The internal vertical is the one that's going to be the highest priority short term, I'm presuming.
I think, well, if you take a look, developing the battery material, we'll continue to work on this and continue to improve the material and continue to get that moving because that's the one that seems to be getting more and more traction. There's more and more interest. There's going to be more and more demand, and there is no supplier of what we're doing in North America. And depending on who happens to win the election, it might change. One of them might reduce the subsidy, but will make even more barriers to the product. So there will be an even more imminent need for a local supplier of the material. So, whatever happens, we are incredibly well positioned in the silicone space. It's the point I really wanted to make with all this is that, hey, guys, we still have the QRR. The QRR is still a great technology. It's not because I've been low key about not talking about it that I don't think day and night how we can, get that to the next level, which is figuring out a way to go commercial. But go ahead.
And the catalyst?
Well, it's sort of the catalyst has been discussion I've been having with people, okay, that would like the QRR to work, and then when I present the QRR concept combined with that, light bulb goes in their head and says, okay, do us quickly a 2-page executive summary of what this would represent, how this works out. So we're now working on the numbers. Now my next number is trying to figure out what would be the right size system so we can maximize our use of what we call green waste energy in the
So
process.
it sounds like it's pretty clear to me that there's some advanced discussions going on already. I mean, you're having them this morning. It sounds like you're really
Yeah.
planning things out. This isn't just kick the tires, right?
We've moved past kick the tires. Okay. Actually, it started to gel more firmly. And I think one of the reasons is that we feel so confident that fumed silica is going to be one of those checkmark success demonstration that we've taken a project from lab scale to commercial scale. That then this will create additional credibility to HPQ and its team and its partners to being able to go and take a project from lab scale to bring it up to commercial scale.
Right, man. That's all the questions I've got for you. That's a pretty good summary of what's. I mean, we kind of jumped around there a little bit, but I think the best came out the end. That you're in advanced stage discussions, or maybe I shouldn't say advanced. That's my adjective, but it sounds like you're in meaningful stage discussions. By the way, I'm going to just prod around because people at home probably asking George, asking more. Is that domestic? Is that American? Is that overseas somewhere? And maybe if you can talk about that, what kind of application are you guys talking about?
Right now it's mostly North American, European, not really Canadian right now. Um, and it's mostly for silicone material for batteries. And that's really where it is. If we're talking about the silicone metal, yes, that's where it is. That is where the situation is, but it might play into a lot of people figuring ways to you have to, basically to generate a lot of green energy, and then figuring a way. You got to figure a way to convert that green energy into something that's sellable, because often where you end up installing your green energy is far away from where you needed the material, or you need the energy, so you have to figure a way to transport it. And what's better than transporting it through making battery material for that are needed for EVs?
When you're having these discussions, are you getting a sense of um, HPQ is just better than most, if not all, the alternatives out there for the party you're talking to? Or is it a situation where they're talking to you, they're talking to George Com, Silicon, and it's still not, it's still not a clear advantage of HPQs?
It is a clear advantage to HPQ because we're the only one having a solution, okay, and having a proposal that is centered around basically zero carbon silicone metal. Remember, Europe is installing tariffs on basically the carbon footprint of your material. So the carbon footprint of making, I was even listening to somebody this morning on Bloomberg about this. The carbon footprint of making silicone metal is becoming a big headache. So, for us to being able to bring it down to almost zero, uh, is phenomenal.
Anybody coming close? How many other guys are, would you consider? And there can't be one person that controls a market. So, is this rarefied air where it's HPQ and maybe a couple of other companies coming up the ranks? Or are you really sitting that pretty? Because that's one thing a lot of us don't know is where do you sit relative to the rest of the world, the rest of the market?
Well, I'll bring an example that I've used many times. In the fume silica business, it's sort of an oligopoly controlled by a series of big not pharmaceutical, but chemical companies. In the silicone metal, it is large player because of the capex required behind building it and the massive OpEx operation. Remember, if you need 6 tons of raw material to make 1 ton of product, and your minimum size is 50,000 ton per year to be economical, you're talking about needing 300,000 tons of feedstock every year moved to that plant, installed, doing those issues. Okay. So these are not something where, so the barriers to entries are multi-level barriers to entry. In our case, we have a process that is, I would dare say, more human size. You know, we're talking 2,000, 2,500 ton. We need 4, so you're talking 10,000 ton per year of raw feedstock, you know, plus or minus something. So that completely changes the dynamic of all those issues put together.
I think I discussed this once with you. I said, "Is this our supercomputers used to take up rooms, and then we went to uh smaller gray supercomputers, then went to desktops." And anyways, I'm not sure if I got that all right, but you understand what I'm trying to get at here. Is that what you're offering, Bernard? Is that what really is, in addition to the low carbon, the zero carbon or near zero carbon? Is it also the fact that it's almost modular and
we
so much more
offer a
flexible?
we offer a modular, decentralized ability to produce silicon. So we can either choose to have it close, if there's access to electricity, close to the source of the quartz, or close to the source of the carbon, or close to the source of the energy. So that's really where we have an incredible advantage, is our scalability and our ability to right size ourselves in the process. I think that's something that's sort of been lost in translation because because the FSR just sort of came in and the QR needed, I needed a bit of this time to figure out what's the best way for me to market it. I knew that, the patent for the low carbon would be great. But originally our idea was to convert that carbon back into a solid carbon to put into it. But, after discussion, looking at the numbers and economics, going for the hydrogen for the synthetic fuel is much better.
Well, it seems like the Canadian government came on at the right time. June 10th,
Finally,
they gave that catalyst. Great overview on that here. And I think a lot of us are going to be really looking forward to whatever conversation it is you're having involving the QRR right now. But in the meantime, thanks, my friend, as always. Great shirt. I'm sure we're going to have a lot of comments about that. Another great shirt, and can't wait to have you on next time. Cheers, everybody.
cheers.
Hey, Small Cap fam, I hope you loved this interview because more than a dozen people were involved in its production for the sole purpose of making you happy. If so, can you take a moment to support both our awesome guest company and Agora.com? Your engagement means the world to us. First, if you enjoyed this video, give us a thumbs up by tapping that like button. It's a small gesture that helps this interview reach even more potential investors to discover today's guest. Second, we would love to hear your feedback on this interview, so please leave a comment below. Be sure to keep it clean, but feel free to poke fun at George. If you loved what you heard on today's video and want to dig into our guest company right away, take a look at the links in the description below. And while you're at it, hit that subscribe button and ring the notification bell to never miss another great Agora.com small cap video. Thank you so much. We couldn't do any of this without you. Make sure to come back soon.